24, verse 24. So, okay, we're having a discussion that the servant of Abraham is trying to marry the daughter of Bethuel to Isaac. So he says to her, he gives her the two bracelets, and he says to her, "Who are you?" And so she says, "Bat Bethuel Anochi, I'm the daughter of Bethuel, ben Milcah, the son of Milcah, Asher Yaldah Nahor." So basically, it's a perfect person. Yes, Jerry, please ask your question.
We don't have the text on our screen.
Oh, Rabbi Yosef has to give you the text.
Sorry, I thought I was sharing still. Mm-hmm. Sorry about that.
You have the text up? Okay, so she's developed it because it's exactly what he was looking for, So let's see what happens. So what does he say in the verse? Bat Petuel, Heshivito al Rishon va'achar nachar. This is an expression from the Talmud. You're supposed to answer the first question first and the last question last. That's exactly what they tell you not to do when you're trying to obfuscate. But when you're not trying to obfuscate, when you want to answer directly, you're supposed to answer the first question first, the last question last. And she says, "I'm the daughter of Bethuel, who is the son of Milcah, who was born to Nahor, who was the brother of Abraham." So she's Abraham's great niece. Vatomer Elav, and she says to him, in addition to offering him water to drink, not only for him, but also for his camels, she said to him, Gam Tevin, Gam Mispo, Rav Imanu. So she says, I have straw and feed, a lot of feed with us. Gam Makom Lawun. I also have a place to sleep. Gam Tevin, Gam Mispo, Rav Imanu, Gam Makom Lawun. I have straw, I have feed, we have a lot of that. And I also have a place to sleep. So what does that mean, Rashi says that the word mispo is kol nachal malim. By the way, to those who are waiting for me, I apologize that I came late. My deep apologies. It's usually something I pride myself on not making people wait for me, because I don't like it when people make me wait. But I apologize to the people in person, but not to the people on Zoom. So I apologize to you. I would never, it's not an indication that I don't respect your time. So Rashi says the word mispo is a reference to camel food. Kol machal malim karoi mispo. It's called mispo. You're going eitza usorim, like husks and borrowing. And okay. Vayikoda ish vayishtachu Hashem. So when the servant of Abraham heard all this, he bowed down to God. He was so happy. You had a question, Shoshana? So he was so happy that his prayers were answered. So then what happened? Vayomer, and he said, Baruch Adonai Elohei Adoni Abraham. Verse 27, he said, "Blessed is God, the God of my master Abraham, Asher lo azav chasto v'amito, who did not abandon his kindness and his truth, me'im Adoni, from my master, Anochi b'derech nachani Hashem, on the path, Hashem guided me in the house of my master's brothers." Baruch atah Adonai Elohim shel. Rashi says, "Baderach," that I went down this path. Okay, we're going to skip that Rashi. It's grammar. We don't do those Rashis. But not that they're not important. We just triage. We can't do everything. Verse 28. The girl ran. She ran, she told her mother's house. The whole theory, why is she telling her mother's house and not her father's house? Steve, you could do a lot of research on this. There's a theory that the tribes were matriarchal. That was one of the theories. But Rashi says a different approach. Rashi says, Derech HaNashim, it was the way of the women, Yoslam bias, to have a house for themselves, to sit there and do their work. And so she ran to the woman's house because the daughter likes to confide in her mama. What?
True enough.
I don't know. Depends on the daughter, depends on the mama. Yeah. Yes, Jerry, you had a question.
Yes, when these biblical characters had more than one wife, each wife had her own tent.
Right. That's exactly the point. That's why some people view this differently. They view it as reference to the fact that the women were running the tribe. And there's also reference to this because when they sit down to ask if she can be her wife, it says it says that the ones who made the in the end the decisions was her brother. So where was the father? So it says in verse 55, her brother and her mother said, let the girl stay with us, meaning to say they were the ones who then were doing the negotiations, meaning to say, especially if there's multiple wives, that the power resides in the mother because there's many different tribes within each family. So therefore, the mother is the one who had the authority about who to decide who she was going to marry. So that's the theory about it.
And there were different wives with different households.
Right, exactly. So that's a good point, because if you're going to say the father's in charge, she's running to her mother's house because, what'd you say?
He only thought it was.
No, he didn't even think he was in charge. If you see at the end, he doesn't even think he's in charge.
I was gonna make a similar point. The women ran things back then and the women still run things now. It's just that men don't always recognize where the power is.
That could be too, but I think they're making the point that it wasn't as subtle back then, that this was the tribes were, the theory that I read, that the tribes were run by the mothers. Rashi has to explain why he disappears, why Betuel disappears. So Rashi has to come up with a theory why he disappears. But okay, so she runs to her mother's home.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what happened to Besuel. He was out hunting?
No, Besuel was the father of Rivka.
Yes.
And we're not up to it yet, but as part of the narrative, he disappears suddenly. So Rashi has to tell us in verse 55, Rashi comes up with the theory, and not Rashi, but the Midrash comes up with the theory. Where was Besuel? Rashi says that the angel came along and put him to death. An angel came and put him to death. That's the Midrash Rabbah. But it's forced. The text doesn't say anything like that. Text just stops referring to him. So that's why it's a challenging reading. And so, but he's motivated by why all of a sudden does he disappear? You understand though?
Yeah, well, today many fathers abandon the wife and children. He could have done the same thing. He could have taken a trip elsewhere,
Except he
abandoning.
was there at the beginning of the conversation, and then just in the middle he disappears. They don't usually leave like in the middle of a conversation. That's the issue.
Okay.
Okay. And also, why is the brother playing such a prominent role here? If there's a father, why is the brother playing such a prominent role? So the point is that it's the eldest brother on the maternal side who had the authority, more so than the father. Especially when you consider like he could have had 5, 6, 10 wives. So what? Yes, he's part of the narrative. He speaks.
In verse 50,
Then he disappears after verse 50. That's the problem. That's why they have to discover Vayan Lavan uBetuel. But Lavan's speaking with him and he goes first. And so that's the point. And then he just disappears. They like pushed him out of the picture. What'd you say?
But right here, in verse 29, which is much earlier than verse 50 that you just spoke about, Lavan, the brother, comes running out to greet
Right.
Eliezer.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, is that the brother plays a much more prominent role than the father. The father speaks, but the brother is much more prominent. He's the one who's controlling the conversation.
Okay.
Verse,
Well,
verse 50.
it also doesn't say left either after verse.
That's what I'm saying. Rashi has to come up with the theory that the reason why he stopped speaking and Lavan speaking is because Bethuel died. But that never says that in the text.
Says Lavan and Bethuel answered.
But I thought that Abraham's brother's name was before.
Yeah, that was Bethuel's wife's father. That guy's never speaking. That's Abraham's brother. Bethuel married Abraham's niece. So, but he was the father, and he speaks, but he's limited. He's limited. So he also wasn't the attraction here. The attraction was not Bethuel's side of the family, but his wife's side of the family. So now it says, Rivka ach, and Rivka had a brother, Vayaratz Ushmo Lavan. His name was Lavan. Vayaratz Lavan el ha'ish achutza el ha'ayin. And Lavan runs to the man outside to the well. Lama Ratz? Yes, I'm sorry, Jerry.
I'm sorry. It's interesting. Laban means white, White, it could be that Abraham and the whole family were dark-skinned, and this kid was named Laban because he was born lighter-skinned than the rest of the family.
That's a very interesting, Jerry. That's a very interesting theory, and I like it. I just also want to point out that there's other cases where we're going to see the word Lavan being relevant, the fact that it's white, because later on in Jacob's life, remember Jacob comes back and he marries Lavan's daughters. Jacob wants to take the sheep and mate them based upon their colors, as opposed to Lavan, who is white. So it is relevant later on also, but it's an interesting theory. What do we do with the fact that his name was White, Lavan?
Rabbi Gold, Zichron Rocha, said that Rabbi Shalom Gold, he said once that the Jewish color is tchelet, to remind us of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, etc. But Lavan is he's pretending to have all the colors of the rainbow, but he's basically trying to blind you. He's trying to shine this bright white light in your face and to confuse you, because that was his way of deceit and always trickery and
Okay,
anyway.
very interesting.
Yeah, that's a very nice comment. Yes, observation. Right.
By the way, okay, so now the next verse states, so we're still up to that verse. So he ran to her to the well. Why did he run? Rashi says, Lama Ratz, Lama Ratz. Why is he running? So Rashi, from the beginning, does not like Lavan. Does not like him. Rashi says he's running by Ikirota when he sees the ring. Amar Ashir Uzev and Asani Nabimama. He's looking for the money. So, okay. Okay, Vayikeros. Esanezem Esatzmidim. And all of a sudden he sees the ring and the bracelets on his sister. Ukishamo is Divrei Rivka Choso more. And when he heard his sister say, Ko Diber Elai Ish, this is what the man said to me, Vayavo Ish, and he came to the man, Vinei Omeda Ad Malim Alayin, and behold, the man was standing by the camels over the spring. Rashi says, Ushamran, he was watching them. Like it states, who made Alayim. Sham, he stood over them to serve them. Verse 31. Vayomer Bo Baruch Hashem. So Lavan says, come, bless Hashem. Lama tamod bachutz. why are you standing outside? Vanochi piniti abayis umakom udmalim. I've cleared the house and a space for camels. Rashi says, I cleared the house and a space for camels. Rashi says, what did he clear the house from? Rashi says, I cleared the house from idols. Cleared the house from idols. That's what Rashi says. So, that's what Rashi says. Vayavo aish abaita, and the man came to the house. Vayifatach agmalim, and he gave straw and feed to the camels. Vayitem teven u'mispo, and he gave fodder to the camels, like malim umayim rachotz reglav, gave water to wash his feet. V'raglei anashim asher, he gave water to wash his feet. Rashi says, what did he do? Vayifatach, he tears the mam shalem. He untied their muzzle. Shayasotim es PM, because he was obstructing their mouths. Shalo yiru b'derech, he didn't want them to graze b'stot achirim. Because remember, we saw this earlier. This was the characteristic of Abraham's camels, that they were muzzled so they wouldn't steal from somebody else. So, hello there, Ira. Welcome back. Welcome back. What?
Okay.
I thought you went somewhere.
No, I'm going somewhere from here. I was the one that did this.
Yeah, but Ira sent me a picture of where he was. I thought,
That was a mistake. I sent that.
all right. We'll get it. We'll get it later. Okay, so, what? Okay, don't worry about it. So, okay. Okay, maybe we'll daven mincha now. Let's daven mincha. All right, my friend, we'll stop the recording and daven mincha. Yeah,